Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is a postmortem of my Blitz game number 284. I was white here, kicked off with c4, the English defense, and my opponent played e5. So we've got a reverse Sicilian. I played g3, the second most popular choice here. Top choice is knight c3, but this is a fine way to play too. And then knight f6 and knight c6 are both moves here. My opponent plays knight f6. I go with the bishop. And then my opponent plays an unusual move here, bishop e7. It's kind of a quiet move. You can immediately strike in the center with d5, top choice. c6 is also a logical move, just setting up a little barrier against my bishop here, trying to limit its scope, or knight c6. So all good ways to play, but there's nothing wrong with bishop e7. You see, we stay within the range of equality by the chess engine. Also notice the chess engine does not approve of English openings. This is true. This was true of Houdini as well as Stockfish. They just think, well, at least at first glance, maybe if it runs longer it'll change its mind, but at first glance it thinks that white is allowing an easy equality with the English opening. Well, that's the engine's opinion. So we play some normal developing moves, castles. And I played d3 here, maybe knight f3 is a more accurate way to play. I'm always a little worried. Let's check this out just a second. I'm always a little worried about the pawn push here. But I guess, yeah, this is one of those cases where it doesn't accomplish anything. Knight to g5, and you're either rounding up this pawn or there's a pawn sack there that may be possible. D takes c3. Okay, it's not a good pawn sack because it just opens up a line for the queen. So just developing the knight and not worrying about the pawn push is the way to go. I played the move d6 here, or d3 rather. It would be d6 if it was a regular Sicilian. Just continuing to support the diagonal of the bishop and grab control of it, and we're pretty much out of the opening book there. So my opponent does play c6 at this point, again trying to limit the scope of my bishop, and I continue with development. And bishop to g4, pinning the knight. Now at this point, sometimes I play the move e3, but at this point I'm glad I haven't played e3 yet because this knight is not pinned. So this bishop may be threatening to take the knight and mess up my pawns a bit, or draw the, actually since it's protected by my bishop, it won't even mess up my pawns. So I'm going to be inclined to keep my e-pawn back on e2 so as not to produce a pin, and just continue with my development. And so I decided to expand on the queen side. The engine is pointing out some suggestions here, like developing the bishop to d2. I think that's a fine move. Or d4, expanding in the center. d4 is not really my plan in this position. I'm still trying to work on the queen side. So I push on with b4. And my opponent plays a5 to undermine. And I push on with b5. So I was thinking this is pretty good. If he takes here, I'll take back with the knight. I'll have an open b file, and I'll get pressure along this file. And if he pushes on with the move c5, then I have this square, potentially this square on d5 for my knight. So I was thinking there's probably something good here. He plays a good move here. He plays knight bd7. He doesn't make any pawn moves. He just leaves. And if I take, then he can take back with a pawn, and it's just an open file that we can both fight over. It's not an advantage to either side. So I go ahead and put my rook on the b file in advance of opening it up, and I'm sort of expecting it to open up. And now my opponent strikes in the center with d5, a very good and thematic kind of move. You might want to look at this game from Black's point of view, because he actually played this game pretty well. So take particular note of Black's moves. He got a simple setup here, but he's slowly expanding. Nice way to counter what I've done. Okay, so I take on c6. He takes back. And then I could take on d5 as well. That's one of the options. But I decided to defer that for a moment and develop a bishop. And now he pushes on with d4, kind of locking up the bishop and locking up the position and giving me a difficult choice of what to do with this knight. Now the engine says the way to play for equality here, it doesn't think I can get an advantage, but the way to play for equality is knight to a4. I just was not sure that was a valid move. Let's go ahead and put it on the board. Knight to a4, see what the engine is suggesting here. Then h6, queen c7. Queen c7 looks like a logical move. Get the queen off the back rank, connect the rooks, and then I would follow up with e3 or h3. e3 introduces a pin on the knight, but it does try to undermine the center. My knight is just going to be stranded over here on the side of the board for a long time, and I wasn't sure I liked playing like this. So I played the other move. I played knight to e4, but now he can just take this knight and give me some doubled pawns here. Sometimes with doubled pawns you get some dynamic possibilities, but here these pawns are pretty well blocked up by black's pawns. So this transformation was probably to black's favor. So now he takes the knight here. He didn't really need to do that. The engine is recommending just dropping back to e6 with a bishop. This is a good bishop, and it's got some targets over here it can point to on my queen side. So no need to trade it for the knight. So I think that's not the best move there, but still advantage to black at this point. Rook to b8, just contesting the b file. I go queen a4, trying to attack some weaknesses over here, and he plays c5, and of course this pawn was already defended, and c5 was probably an okay move. Did he have a better move there? The engine thinks knight b6 is an interesting try here. I wonder, is this a queen trap? If he plays knight b6, can I take the pawn? No, I can take it. And rook c8. Okay, the engine just thinks this is a good pawn sack. Hey, black gets some tempos. Oh, he gets this pawn back. So it's not actually losing a pawn. So this would have been an interesting way to play. He just pushed on with c5. And now I play my bishop to a3, just trying to get some pressure on the c-pawn. Already I'm starting to feel a bit somewhat worse in the game, although the engine rates it as even. But the problem from white's point of view is that so this bishop is blocked in by its own pawns, and these targets that I might have, they appear to be well defended. So I'm just having trouble developing a plan here, finding targets in black's position. So queen c7 was played. I go rook b5. Still, we're in the range of about even until right here. And it says I should really take back with the queen. I was thinking, oh well, here's my chance to get some activity with a passed pawn. Make some threats. But it just does not work out for me. So in this position, really, I need to take with the queen. And after queen takes. Rook b8, chasing the queen away. Queen drops back to a4. Queen to d6. Bishop to d6. I guess this position is about even. There's no huge plan that I can see for black in this position, and no big plan for white either. I guess it's one of those positions that's difficult for both sides to play, just because there's not much going on, so you've just got to kind of maneuver your pieces around, try and find ideas, find better places for all your pieces. Maybe as an idea here, you look at your worst piece, which is this bishop, and try and find a way to improve it. If I could, I guess I would bring my queen over here to blockade this pawn, and then push e3, and then try to exchange here, and then that would develop the bishop and maybe give it something to do. So that could be a plan. Anyway, I took with the c-pawn with the simple plan of just trying to get a queen. And he blockades immediately. And bishop to g4, attacking his knight. So I guess I'm still doing okay here. I have to say, after c takes b5, why did the engine think black was doing so well? Because of knight b6. Knight b6 is a good move. The knight makes a better blockader than the queen, and it's chasing my queen away, so it gains a tempo. Queen back to d1 and c4, and then he can push, and these pawns are very dangerous. This one is a protected pass pawn even after it pushes on to c3. So okay, so that's the way for black to play for an advantage. So with queen b6, then he's letting me back in the game, and it's once again about even. and I make some threats against his knight here. And he chases my bishop back. I really didn't want to trade it for the knight and also mess up my pawn some more. So I needed to bring my rook over to defend the pawn, and now he starts advancing on the king side. And we get an exchange here. Still okay, I guess. And yeah, I didn't think anything was going to be happening on this file here. He needs to get his queen over. If he gets his queen and his rook both on the H file, then there's some threats. But his queen is on the wrong side of the board right here. So in this position, I played rook to c1, going after this pawn, trying to because in the long run, this passed pawn here is very dangerous. So if I can round it up, this is going to be my top priority. But the engine says now is the time to strike with e3. Okay. So I play here, and he brings his rook over to defend. And there's an exchange of queens, and then I defend my passed pawn. So I thought I was doing okay here, but the engine is already starting to spot certain flaws in my position. And the main problem is black can maneuver his knight into a good position, and I still really have this bad bishop here. So black is actually much better in this position, and he gets that knight to that good active position. He was going to come to this square, attacking my rook anyway, so I needed to get the rook out of there, and I didn't want to give up the a pawn, so I want to keep it protected, maintain my one advantage in this position. But now black can start pushing on with his advanced pawns, and particularly the passed c pawn. And this is already probably losing for white. I put up a fight here for a long time, but I think black never gives up the advantage after this point. So let's just go through the rest of it kind of quickly. I was trying to get counterplay with my b pawn here as my last hope. If I could trade off this knight, his king is out of the picture, and and I have a chance of promoting it. I also finally pushed e3 and to activate my bishop. But all this is just too late. His king is getting over into the picture, and these passed pawns are just too strong. There's nothing I can do to really hold them all up. And at this point, he rounds up my loose pawns. The pawns were still even. I had a pawn here and a pawn here against these two pawns. But my pawns were loose, his king was nearby, and these two pawns protect each other. I can never take this pawn because this one will queen. So all I can do is sit here and blockade, and so black has all the time in the world to mop up my pawns, and then eventually he will win with one of these pawns. He can just bring his king around over to here, drive my king back, and queen the c pawn. So pretty easy win from this point. Hope you guys enjoyed this overview. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.